Hi there, my name is Benjamin Lang, and I'm an anticipated sophomore graduate at Northeast Community College. And I would like to take a few moments of your time to present my portfolio to you. And all of these projects were in the graphic design career up at the Northeast Community College. Alright. The first project is known as the Floron Letterform project, and for this project, we needed to take our very own first initial of our very first name, and we needed to basically create our very own unique type that best describes who you are. So I would say the top three things that best describes who I am is being fun, playful, and creative. And so within this project, I really didn't understand what I could have done to put into this unique type when I got some ideas from one of my instructors. I basically looked up Keith Haring as an influence and I decided to add them into my type. And so Keith Haring was basically a pop art and graffiti like artist, and his work actually involved sexual allusions that turned into social activism. And so basically, when I look at his work and if I compare it to mine, I think of it as a Where's Waldo book. And so this project was also done during my sophomore year during the Typography 2 class. And the reason why I've included this in there because when I look at this project, I think of it as a Where's Waldo's book. It reminds me a little bit of my childhood. Uh, the next project is the Trumpet Illustrator. And for this project, we needed to take our illustration and basically we had to hand draw it a few times using only a pencil, paper, and a few black ink pens before taking that onto an Adobe InDesign or Adobe Illustrator and using the pen tool having to create the outline of the entire trumpet. And the reason I've done trumpet form illustration is because I used to play band during my high school and I played it all 4 of my 4 years before moving on to college. And then there would be some times during my college career where I would get invited back to the high school to play with the pep band during the football season and the basketball season. And this was one of those beginner projects during the graphic arts 1 class during my freshman year. And not only did I use this project for this one, but I've used this project for many other projects as well. The next project was a request by the college known as the Honesty Poster. And for this, we needed to create a poster that would get displayed all over the campus. And so we were given a list of quotes in class, and none of them really stood out to me except for this one. My honesty is the best policy. And to define a solution for honesty, well, people are still trying to learn what honesty actually means, still learning in the process of honesty, so I have included a pencil in there for the learning part. As you can see on many posters at school or in college, there would be posters all around the campus, and basically it has a little learning method on it. And to define what the best policy means, that's where the ribbon comes into play, because my honesty is the best policy. And not only does honesty is about being honest, it's basically hiding those difficult situations that you might be going through, and it makes you a better person by telling the truth. And this was a project that was also done during my Typography 2 class during my sophomore year. Okay, the next project is known as the Dieter poster. And for this project, we needed to make a poster for the class known as the Dieter poster. And for this project, I used an influence off of a poster known as Beat the Whites with the Red Wedges by El Lissitzky. And El Lissitzky was a Russian artist, and the poster symbolizes the Russian Civil War with Western publications. And Dieter Rams was a German artist and got influenced and helped create some of the consumer products such as the clock, the radio, the calculator, and there's many more other inventions out there. And so we were to take one of these inventions, so I took the clock and we needed to include that into the poster with the top 10 design elements in the poster. And when I looked at this poster, when I looked at all the design elements, the one design element that I enjoyed the most looking at was designing as little as possible. Because when I think of designing as little as possible, I do believe that not only that it makes you a better designer, but it shows good quality and detail of what the project actually means. And this project was done during Layout and Design 1 during my freshman year. And the next project was known as the Planner Project, And for this project was also known as the answer of 1,000 questions. And for this project, we had to make a planner, and basically we would have to answer and defend the questions based off of if people already know what's already going to be in the planner. Like for an example, do we need to add like a color code to the side of the calendar to tell what month is what? Or do we really need to include a note page in there, or are people gonna write notes on the days of the week? Do we need to include any other lines in there, or are people going to scribble all over the page? And it's basically those type of answers and questions that we need to ask ourselves, because people are probably going to know what a planner actually is and what they use it for. And we also needed to include a subject matter within this project as well. And so I have decided to use parrots for the planner project, because where else in this area do you really see parrots? Nowhere except white birds, blue jays, and red pharaohs. And so I have decided to use parrots, not only because they're colorful birds, but I think that they're really magnificent when it comes to their colors. And so I based the photos off of their planners, and I based the photos off of the days in the month. So basically in the wintertime I would pick winter parrots, and then in February there would be like loving birds due to Valentine's Day, and then in November there would be orange parrots. And I've also learned a definition between registration black and regular black during this project as well. Registration black meaning that you take all four of your inks, your C, M, Y, K, so your cyan, yellow, magenta, and the last one is not black. It actually represents key, which is a certain type of black. It takes all four of those inks and it puts them onto the type. And when you print that out, it's basically going to have a lot of ink all over the page, which pretty much ruins the project. And that has happened to one of my projects. And so the way that I managed to fix this problem was take all of the type and revert it back to the regular black. The registration black is used for crop marks, bleed marks, and just for printing methods. And that's basically the difference between the registration black and regular black. And the next project is a reference back to the trumpet illustration. And this was done during graphic arts during my freshman year. And this was an introduction to the package design known as the Cube project. And for this project, we needed to take a whole lot of copies of our illustration project and put them all over the page. And we were also given a die line of the project. And for this project, we needed to take our trumpet illustrations, get a lot of copies on there using many different shapes, colors, opacity levels, different sizes, and we would have to spread them out all over the page. And so when we printed it out and we needed to get them folded, let's say one of the illustrations on here runs off the die line and wanted to get connected to the other one. And so we would have to take two copies of the exact same photo and line them up, but depending on where the die line meets when you print it out for the fold. And as you can see here, when I ended up printing them out, you can see these two different images line up together on the fold and comes together as one image of the trumpet. The next project was done also during my typography during the sophomore year, was known as the 3D letter form. And this was one of these projects where I've included this project, and I really haven't discussed any of my challenges except for the layout and design planner project. But for this project, we needed to take two letters and somehow needed to combine both of those together. And we each got random letters that we drew out of a hat, and we actually literally drew them out of a hat, and take the two and combine them together. And so for the thought process for this project was to so basically think of it as like a skyscraper. First you build your floor, basically the main lobby, and then you put your walls in between of your structure. And then sometimes within those buildings of your skyscraper, there are little pillars inside of in that structure. That way when you put your roof on top of your project, that way it won't like collapse. And so that's basically what my thought process was while doing the C and the K. And not only did I do this project once, wasn't the only challenge, but I've done it twice to make sure I would get the high quality the way I wanted it to be. And so for the colors, I decided to use black and blue because I think those are the two colors that go great together with this project because it stands out more. And we needed to take the two and somehow you can see the C and the K as the 3D models in there. And the other challenge within this class was basically time and patience. For the time wise, we only had like a week and a half to get this project done because deadlines are important in a graphic design career. And with the patience, gluing the project together took time because it takes a while for the glue to dry. And it's basically, you need to get on your top of your game. Otherwise, if you don't meet those requirements, it's basically, you're not going to be successful. So basically, deadlines and time and patience are a big part of the graphic design. And the last project was one of my favorite projects within the entire graphic design career, and this was done during my Graphic Arts 2 during my freshman year, was known as the non-traditional book. And for this non-traditional book, we needed to include a book, and basically the requirements for this project was to take 30 pages and include them in the non-traditional book. We needed to have at least a minimum of 30 pages. And so basically, if it looks like a regular book, it's wrong. And if it has any binding in the book, it's wrong. And so the solution and questions is, how are you going to put this together? Well, if there are 6 slices in your subject matter, and I've chosen pizza for my subject matter, it's basically each slice of pizza, when you eat pizza, it basically has up to 6 to 8 slices. And I came up with a solution to take a regular 12-inch by 12-inch document and make a circle with 6 different pages of information. And here's a few examples of what the inside of the book looks like. And this is just the back of the book. And so when this was all said and done, we ended up printing the project and had to fold this up into an actual pizza slice. So there would be at least 6 different folds. And then we would need to do that 6 different times. So basically, you add those numbers up, 6 different pages of information with 6 different slices, and you get 36, which meets the requirement of the page. And not only did we have to include the pages in there, but we also needed to include the 5 senses in there. And that was a bit tricky as well for the solution. So basically, the sense of touch, smell, taste, hear, and sound. And for the seeing part, you can see the image of the pepperoni. And for the smell of the project, I thought of pizza sauce, because pizza sauce smells really good. And I've included a small cup, and I took a red paintbrush and painted the edge of the cup red, and took some of my leftover pizza magic and put that in there for the smell. And I also had a few extra time to make some garlic bread using some foam and paint because garlic bread goes great with slices of pizza as well, and that's why I included that in there as well. And for the hearing and sound part, it was a bit tricky, but I actually closed the box and then I shook the project. That way you can hear and sound what the structure looks like. And when I think of the taste of pizza, my mouth starts to drool, and so that's the taste of pizza, because I can smell the bread, I can smell the sauce, the cheese, and the pepperonis on there. And not only did I do this subject, I did my pizza subject. I did pizza because I would eat it for lunch, breakfast, dinner, maybe for a dessert, and maybe for a midnight snack if I'm still hungry. And not only that, but I do work at a pizza place as well. And so this was one of my favorite projects within the class. And this one, I did have a big challenge. This was one of those projects where if we don't make really quick decisions, then we would run out of time and we wouldn't meet the deadline of the requirement. And for me, the deadline was about a week to get this done. And this was during the summer class. And so the quick decisions were, okay, we need to take care of this first. We need to do this first. And actually, no, we're going to do this first, and then we'll do this next, and then this will be last. And if I hadn't made those quick decisions, I wouldn't have gotten done on time with this project. And based about all of the projects within the presentation, this one is my favorite project of all time. Do we have any questions?
Well, I think we already know what your favorite project was and why. So tell us which project in school you did not like and why you didn't like that project.
Well, the favorite, the hated project?
The one you didn't like.
The project that I didn't like was we had to do this typography catalog based off our own type. So we would have to do some research about a famous typewriter, which I really didn't have a favorite typewriter, and needed to include a catalog. And it's basically, wasn't so fond of that project, but trying to find out which one's my favorite type to use was not easy. And that's pretty much one of the projects I didn't like within the class was the typography catalog, which was during type 2 as well.
Do you prefer projects that are one and done, or do you like projects that have lots of pieces that go on for a long time?
Well, for some of the projects that we've done, like the regular trumpet illustration, that was basically one piece. But for like later projects with multiple pieces, we took our illustration project and we put them on a cube project, and we had to spread out the trumpet pieces all over the die line to create this cube design. And so I would say that was basically a 2-step to 3-step project. And so I would either prefer a single project or multiple projects within that ties in with that project.
Okay. What was the most amazing or important thing that you've learned about the business of graphic design?
A few things. One, deadlines are important because if you don't get your projects done on time, then things aren't going to turn out for you because you're doing projects for clients. And I think the client wants to be happy with your high quality craft, your presentations, and the amount of time you put into these projects. And the other few things I learned within the career, tabbing. Tabbing is another piece of equipment that you need to have because without tabbing, you have no control over your type. And then the other thing that I learned was the difference between registration black and just the regular black font color.
Okay. What do you want to be doing in 10 years?
10 years? Well, recently I found this website and it's basically shopping for magic mugs and you can create your very own magic mugs. And so basically what I would say is maybe I can designs for clients if they want to buy like a magic mug, and it's basically you pour hot water into it and it gives you an image on there. I find that to be really interesting. So who knows, I might be ending up working with a mug company who makes magic mugs.
Sure. Okay, great.
All
Well,
right, anything else you guys want to add?
Nope.
All right, well, thank you for your time.
thank you.